What a fantastic feeling to be standing here to have this opportunity to say a few words. Congratulations to all my fellow inductees. Thank you to all the people who made this night possible. Especially the award committee, athletic director Matthew Bing, and the school leadership, Principal Joe Vagadis and President Dyer. May God bless your mission and continuing commitment to this school. My family's here. I've had two sets of parents for almost 30 years, an incredible fortune for me. Bob and my mom, Renee Aikenhead, my dad, Kurt and Nancy Utterback. My wife's father, Denny, and his friend Donna are here. My brother, Steve, is here. And my uncle, Scott Kinzel's here. I do wish Grandpa was here tonight. I'm also excited to introduce all of you to my wife, Shannon, my daughter Molly, who are over here, and this is the first time that they've been in this building. I love you. My story really starts with, I think, Jack Rose, who's here tonight, whose legacy of successful leadership as a football coach in Stark County is certain and obvious. He brought on my dad as the offensive coordinator here in the early 1980s. And it was the beginning of a magical time. Many may not remember the 1-9 and 3-7 seasons where the foundation was laid. But more of you know about the details of a 25-game unbeaten streak, including the 1984 state championship. I was in 7th grade, and I was fortunate enough to be on the field as a ball boy for those teams. I remember the day they won the state title, that trophy, right down there. That memory for me is a blur of sunlight and cheers. And when my dad finally made it down from the towering press box in Ohio Stadium, I remember sprinting to meet him and jumping into his arms and over his shoulder, and I cried, like kids sometimes do when they're overwhelmed. I could list the names of scores of boys on those teams at the drop of a hat 30 years later. High school boys that were nice to me, who allowed me to feel good about being in the locker room or on the bus. These were good boys. They were local boys, not spread out over an entire metropolitan region. See, for St. Thomas, any success here has always been earned independent of advantage. No free-range enrollment, no artificial talent gathering. That is what gives the Knights' very recent success its charm, a big win last night. And it's also why the 1980s were such an amazing confluence of playing and coaching talent. Those memories were the reasons I came here, and so I enrolled. When I was young, I just thought, that's what men do. So rich was my experience with seeing coaches coach. I watched coaches Bartolo, Goodchild, and Hominy teach on the field with passion. I listened to Jim Kessler, and Coach Rizzoletti, and the late Terry Mulholland. I listened to them push and guide and support. Coach Joe Vagadis, obviously here, coached with great precision and decisiveness, and I'm sure that's how he leads this school. Coach Larry Unch, who is here tonight, he motivated with great spirit and energy. Is symbolic. He wears shorts in any weather, any temperature, all the time. And there was a message in that, a message of toughness, and it all matters. All of these men spending time, real time, modeling to boys all the lessons of preparation and care and organization and commitment. I need to say this. They all love their families and still saw themselves as needed to spend all of this time with other families' boys to pass on the beautiful virtues of a good society. Anyone who's been a coach of other people's kids, will you stand up for me just for a second, please? You've ever been a coach of anyone else's kids, please stand up. Andy, I know that's you, I know that's my wife. Let's give them a rousing ovation, please. I appreciate that. Jim McQuaid is here. He was the head football coach my senior year. He was from Cleveland. He didn't know many people. He looked at what he had. He played us without prejudice. I have a picture of he and I at home, a conversation we were having on the sideline from a newspaper. Ben, you probably took the picture. I had a lot of suggestions. Always had a lot of suggestions. He listened, but he always listened. He was a talented listener. He listened and then he decided. And he used that formula, is still using that formula, and has for 20 years as a head coach, and has been a difference maker in the lives of hundreds of young men. And it all started here on Reno Drive. Coach, thank you for putting me on the field. I never took it for granted, and so I played that way. Rich Venuto is here. He was my basketball coach for the better part of 4 years, and I have a note from him he gave me before our game against Green High School. It's titled Execution in Emotion. Now I stand before you, let me stand up straight, a 5'10" center, starting center on the 1990 version of the Aquinas boys basketball team. We went 10-10 against a pretty decent schedule, and so sometimes Coaches of the Year don't always get that award. But more than that, he opened his home to me and his family to me. He gave me a place to be when I was alone on a Saturday night. Coach, I think I remember driving down West Manor more than I do any basketball game. Thank you. And I need to mention someone not with us this evening, Dr. Joseph Kroc, whose passing still tightens my heart. His son and I grew up around St. Thomas football together. We graduated together. Each Friday game day, I would spend about 30 minutes in his classroom here after school to talk about whatever I wanted to. And he never made me feel like he was in a hurry to get home. They and many others, like Cindy Eby, who's here tonight, Alan DiGianantonio, the Fagleys, they and many others are St. Thomas for me, as they were for many others. No place is perfect, but it was good here. I was pushed here, I was tested. I chose to be tested, and sometimes it didn't feel great, so you learn to rebuild, to reassess. As a point of commentary, I loved going to church at school, going to chapel right there, even though I was a Presbyterian boy, lip-syncing Hail Marys the first week of my freshman year. Thank you, Dad. For having opened this door to me. Thank you, Mom, for letting me go without the hint of resistance. For all of you tonight that might be a little younger, school age, I just ask for one final point of close attention. The Aquinas alma mater finishes with the line, sung by students, "We accept life's challenge gladly, grateful that you show the way." Ultimately, I believe it's up to the individual to meet those challenges. And we like having friends to share the experience of learning with. But there are people around you who have lived it, and they want to help. Your family, your teachers, your coaches, your clergy. Accept it. Embrace it. St. Thomas Aquinas helped me. It did help me accept the challenges. It did help show the way, and for that, I am very grateful. Thank you so much for this honor. Have a wonderful evening.